Yes, well, welcome and intro that. So that's me, Christoph Faulhaber. Yeah, Christoph Faulhaber, I'm an artist. I live in Hamburg, Germany. Most of the time I do live there if I'm not somewhere else on a project somewhere. I'm doing like very much, or I'm enjoying very much doing different kinds of projects all the time. And we started the SAAI edition #1 just this week with the symposium at KAUST. And we had like 2.5 days program here. As you can see, it's a collaborative approach, and it has been, even the first edition has just actually been a very important thing, has been like the networking thing, as an international and interdisciplinary approach towards art and AI art, or as you can think about that in different ways. Anyway, we will come to that back. We will come back to that later, like AI for art or art for AI. Well, that's something that you can look up on my homepage. So what I did before, I'm not going into this right now. Let me go back. Yes, so the SAAI Factory project is the super artistic AI. It's super because we are super proud of the project, and we are trying to do super art projects, but it's also an allusion, I think that's the right word, to the famous S words. I just copied this one from Wikipedia. So if it comes to AI, you have this moment in time, or this turning point in the development of these techniques that we want to summarize under the label AI, when it comes to the moment that a super intelligence is being born, which also is referred to as the singularity. You can look up this, and it has some kind of background, it has some kind of a science fiction background, it has some kind of a technological background, and so on. So the S here, SAAI Factory, somehow relates to this kind of discussion. What kind of disruptions may AI bring to us, and how are we going to face that, and what is our relationship and our responsibility? So the basic approach here is, and it's always very nice to have like an audience, I think, that is very diverse, very mixed, and think about how can we approach these two very far away perspectives. One is the very much technological sphere of computer science, like really advanced computer science, incorporating machine learning and AI, and the other is the art producing sphere, in all disciplines that you can imagine. So how can you bridge the gap between these two communities? And so this is like the one thing that is in my head, that was in my head, and I think a lot of the people who joined like this whole endeavor of super artistic AI, they would subscribe that that's like the most important thing, and that they want to, you know, connect and bring into communities like connections that lead to the other side. And the hackathon itself is a very interesting event. We don't actually always have a hackathon like this, where 100 people would sit together and really do hard work only for one weekend. But it's like the idea of being productive, of working together, to collaborate, and so on, that's in this idea of a hackathon, how we continue to keep it in our mind with this project. So this is from the project side, SAAI-factory.com. You can also see like there's some kind of milestones for the last 2 years. What what was going on, what was built up. So we built up an NFT collection, but we also tried to build up images or ideas, icons for what is the purpose of what we're doing right now. We have a very rich video channel, even more worth visiting after the symposium that we just did on KAUST, because all the talks that we had, they are now also recorded and on the video channel SAAI Factory. So this is just looking back into 2021, where we had another symposium. This symposium is also on the YouTube channel. The first hackathon was it was a locally and a internationally conducted hackathon. So we were trying to establish local hubs in various cities, and that was possible because we were like a huge community with roots in all of these places. And we did several forms of exhibitions and award ceremonies. We also had like a virtual representation of works in a metaverse. This is voxels, or someone knows as it has been known as cryptovoxels.com. And so we made some international exhibitions. The last one closed in January. That was at the Foundry downtown Dubai. So let me just check the time. Yeah. Okay. Oh, I understand. Yes, I understand. No, that's fine. But I wasn't really prepared to not look in the same direction as the audience. But you're right. Yeah, I can. I will try to focus on that screen, so you don't have to follow my perspective. So we have time enough. So as I said, the basic idea here was we have like two sides that we want to merge together. So we have on the one hand side we have the side of AI engineers. On the other side we have artists, and how can we bring them together? So we tried, and we put a lot of emphasis on this, so that we will actually invite teams that are built up of AI engineers and artists, so that we will have a need to communicate about the projects that are a part of SAAI Factory. And another thing that was important is that you keep in mind that the arts and AI techniques are following on each channel of symbolic communication that we have and that we use. So as AI is deployed on various sensorial, impressions that you can have, so that you can use. You could use your senses from viewing, from hearing, and you can see movements and making text understandable. So all these as a symbolic communication that is very much a human thing is already been researched and focused, and already we have established media from that in the AI world. And so the SAAI Factory wants to keep that open, like for each discipline in the arts. And the guiding principles that were interesting and still are is like the question: how can we react? How can we interact with these neural networks? So in a way, it's they are very close, and we can speak to them in our phones, and it's part of our daily life more and more. But somehow you want to know what that is, and you want to know how this one gets so close to yourself, to. And So the idea of projects here is how can we somehow make that palpable, that you can know, well, at this moment I am really interacting with some kind of a trained model, trained on human data sets, on human behavior and so on, and how does that make my experience maybe change if I'm aware of that. And so, as I said, there's the interoperability is due to this kind of multi-syllable thing that we have, so that we would interchange, that we transfer or translate between text, music, image, whatever. And I just continue. So the hackathon is a very interesting thing. We can use some kind of service provider, which we have done. And here's a short glimpse of some project that we had for the first edition. And we can just look into some. I can just tell you that we have like this one, Smart Hans. It's a mind-reading AI in form of a virtual horse. That makes use of, it tells you that it can read your mind if you stand before this video camera, that it is able to somehow, and that's interesting, somehow read your mind. And the horse then will tell you what you have been thinking, and you can look that up. All these projects are still online at the SAAI Dev Post homepage. You can get all the information later or Google that. And we had a music production work, the principles of the theory of wealth. We had, for example, from Riyadh, I think, a team on folk dance classification. We also had a project on how to build use cases for quantum computing with a creative AI idea. And a couple of more things that is, I think, one of the nicest outcomes of this project, that it's so, that it's really diverse, a lot of different output. So the project itself today, like SAAI Factory, SAAI edition number 2, is continuing. So my take-home message is tell everybody to jump into and be a part of it. If you're interested in how you can somehow develop AI art projects, please do so, or go yourself, convince yourself to register. You can register I'm sorry, it always somehow loses the connection, I know. You can register at SAAI2.devpost.com. Please do so. I can just show you something just very shortly what I have been doing lately, and it's now shown on display in some exhibitions right now. So interesting here is that the AI production of images, as you can see here, a couple of portraits that, supposedly have some kind of connection to AI-generated imagery. They are part of a larger project. The larger project is here a story about a fake cryptocurrency, and the founder or the director of this cryptocurrency lived in that house actually, and she is now not there anymore. So what this project is doing, it's like playing in the digital sphere with the absence of the person that is still one of the most, it's one of the most sought after persons worldwide. And but nobody knows if she's still alive or where she is. She vanished in 2017 already. And we built up this building, and you can visit it in decentraland.com or org. Sorry, you have to figure that out. That is another metaverse, and it looks a little bit like this, like a gaming surrounding, and Yes, and sure, you can buy these AI-generated images, so you can buy them as NFTs, and then you collect them, and you can collect a number of 9, and you get a collection of certain cryptocurrencies that I collected myself, and you can exchange that. So there's some kind of a gamification background here, which is also found in the upper apartment, so there's some kind of adventure game, so you can figure out what is the history of this person. I'm just showing this because we are already quite far in using AI and building projects where AI techniques are like only one thing, one tool that you would need to tell like the whole story, to build up a whole concept. And it doesn't stop by only, only whatever that means, creating one picture, but you need to think beyond that. So yeah, I will just stop here and hand over the microphone to Mohamed. Yes, thank you very much, and yeah, we'll be on the panel.
Thanks. Thanks, Christoph, and I'm pleased to be here, and excited to be actually to have been part of actually the SAAI factory, which is basically the promotes the engagement between artists and engineering and computer science, and I was covering a bit computer science part, so I feel excited to be here, and maybe I would like to talk with you more about the computer science that can bring hopefully some value in the direction of creative AI, and maybe you can think together where this future could be. So, all right. Not sure. Okay, these are some pieces of art that were generated by MATLAB. You can see actually some of those pieces are over here already. So this we participated with them in some galleries that are online. I'm not sure if the videos are playable. Okay, these videos are playable. Like the videos seems. Huh? Can you play the video? Yeah, I was. You have to talk about it. Okay, I'm not sure. I asked it about it before. It seems. If maybe let's wait for confirmation. If it doesn't, I will just proceed. But anyway, so this is a video that is about World War II. I'm not sure if some of you have seen this video already, but it's a video completely generated in a matter of minutes by AI. Even the story itself. So all of you are aware about ChatGPT, right? So how this video was created was like this. Ask ChatGPT to write a story about World War II. And then use technologies that go over the script sentence by sentence and generate a small video that talks about this particular like phrase. And then stitching that all together to generate a video like this in a few minutes. I wish I was able to play this, but anyway, I will share the material. I think if you play the PowerPoint, the video can play, but anyway, I hope that you get the, I think most of my slides actually are about this this notion, but you can see the story, right? So this video was created about World War II. Amar Rishi has made it just over the weekend, completely generated by using AI text to video. So the script was written by GPT-4, and then even the voice that you hear in the video was generated by another tool, Kane voiceover, that takes the text that was generated by ChatGPT to produce the video that you hear in this small script. So I think the video, if you look at it, it's still far from being in a releasable format to be releasable in a movie or something like that. But it shows a promise that you can actually prototype, create your creation of what story you want to tell in a matter of minutes. And maybe you can revisit that quickly, because KAUST, if you do put the effort to prototype your ideas in right now before this use of this technology, it will probably cost a lot. You want to see some version of it, rough version of it, maybe not in the high quality enough to be released in theaters, but it can give you some visualization of the story in some form that could be far from perfection, but it generates a new mode of prototyping, fast prototyping of movie ideas, right? So I think this can be exciting, and this is just about the story of how actually this is created. So you all know that GPT can write about novels, right? And this is the way this video is created. But this novel in this case is about World War II. You can ask it to write poems, right? And you can take this poem and then use this voice over this text technology to make it played by one of your favorite singers or something like that. So the possibilities there are really endless. So you have right now a new set of tools that can accelerate your creation in many ways. So I think this is really an exciting, and you need to think about this as creative assistant tool. So AI is not really here to replace content creator, but to provide them with sets of tools to accelerate that content creation to be of a higher quality and to fast prototype. When you have tools like this to fast prototype a movie that you want to create, your iterations will be faster, and it's more likely when you iterate, you have time to iterate more, that your final product will be of a higher quality, right? So maybe we can take a moment to think about content, the future of content creation and media creation through this lens. All right, so okay, I think most of my content was mainly videos, but I'm not able to play here. But this is another one thing you can all do right now is that you can scan your QR code and see the video that I want to show you. So this video is about what? It's about a tool actually we have built at KAUST that is called Mini GPT-4. This actually is a tool that can take an image, and you can write a poem about the image. You can provide a picture of a person with a dog, and it can literally write a poem about. You can take a picture of this whole venue, and then ask it to write a poem about the venue or something like that. It can iterate over. You can give it a picture. It's like a version of ChatGPT, but you can initiate with an image. So this is more like multimodal, like content creation, similar to the mode that has been used to this video, but in the opposite direction. You have media, but you want to think about the possible story that this can tell. So you can take a picture of a plate that before you eat that you really liked, and then ask it, hey, how can I make a food like this? And it actually can generate something that is quite reasonable. If you look at the capabilities this tool was able to do. And it was based on what? It was based on a tool like GPT, this GPT-4-like, but GPT naturally, or the one that we often interact with, doesn't have eyes, you cannot give it images, right? So these tools gives a sight to this large language model that you can interact with. So you can give a picture, ask it to generate a poem. Hopefully it can be further developed so that it can, with a live stream of what you're doing, be assembling your IKEA chair or something like that. It can guide you with the steps to build a chair, or help you give you access to let's say your camera while you're playing chess and guide you with some instructions as you play, as it sees the board right now, and it guides you what should be your next move right now to improve your skills. So developing these multimodal technologies has a potential in both text or scenario to video creation, and also the opposite. And we need the opposite to help us actually also augment our skills. When we use ChatGPT, sometimes we use technologies to help us accelerate how we write our own novels, right? And in some other we want it to help us do some like execute well some boring stuff, like following instructions to make your favorite food or something. And we might have a hard time to remember the exactly step if we add enough salt here or enough vinegar here, or I don't know. All right. So this is like some glimpse of content creation. You can check out the GitHub repository. We have released this recently. It has more than 17,000 stars in a matter of a couple of weeks. And this was built here in-house at KAUST. So another one of the other works that we have done is this over the past year called, it's a paper we published in a conference on competition creativity, the International Conference on Competition Creativity in Italy, in Bolzano, Italy in 2022. So this idea is about how do you encourage AI models to be creative, to be novel, to have an intent while it's learning to produce something that is different from what it has seen during training. So because how can we quantify, one way to quantify, I'm not saying that this is the only way to quantify creativity, but one way that has been approached here, that has been modeled here to approach creativity, is to generate images that are different from existing art style categories, that deviates from that. And we have developed an earlier version of that, but the idea is based on this, is inspired by this curve by Wounded from 1874. He was studying the psychology of human creativity. And if you look here, that the x-axis is novelty and y-axis is hedonic value, is how much you like the piece of art. And what this curve is telling is that if novelty is small, people may not like the work, but as novelty increases, people will start to like the work more and more. But if it's too novel to relate, that we cannot understand it and can relate to, such lack of understanding will lead to lack of appreciation. And that may explain this decrease in likability after a certain time, right? When the novelty is too much. Right? When it's something too much is always not good, right? All right. So if you look at maybe one of the popular network that has been used to model image content generation scan, it is as simple as this, and it's two networks that play with each other. The generator is the one that produces images, but it will produce initially. It doesn't understand what the image world or the art world looks like, so it may generate something that doesn't mean anything. What teaches that network, the generator, to learn what an art look like is another network called the discriminator, and this, you can think of this as the teacher, the discriminator, the blue guy. And then you train the generator, the discriminator is trained to identify what image comes from the real art, from real images, and what images comes from the AI artist, the AI generator. And then the generator itself, the one that generates images, is trained to trick the discriminator to believe that it generates real artistic images. So, and by updating those parameters, the model will tend to produce images that looks more and more like what it has seen from the art images that are sampled from a data set of images, of many art images, like WikiArt, that has about 80,000 images, right? But if you train the model like this, it might learn to imitate the images that it has seen during training. It might generate the Mona Lisa again. So the Mona Lisa is a beautiful painting, but it's not what we want the model to do. It's an existing content. So So the point is that how would we encourage this to be different? And the idea we have developed in Kansas at that time, that's in 2017, was to encourage a generator to produce images that is hard to classify to any of the existing art styles. What are art styles? Art styles includes high Renaissance, abstract art, cubism, existing art. These are ways or classes that experts have identified to categorize art styles. But we want this model to create its own a style that is different from those existing ones. So since that generator has tunable parameters, we want to change its parameters so that the content it produces deviate, is hard to classify, is hard to identify to any class that I have seen before. And that way it promotes generating newer content that is different, because we know existing content belong to one and only one style, art style. So when you generate something that is hard to know which art style it is, this is a sign that this is probably something different. All right. So the one we did, like the work we did newer, we called it QAN, Creative Work Adversarial Networks, is something that builds on better architectures, but as well as a better teaching signal than the one I just described. What does QAN does? So it literally, you think about those green points are existing art styles. One is high Renaissance, one is abstract, one is cubism. And the idea is that it creates a random walk, like loss. Literally think about, you have a transition probability teaching signal that starts from each one of these green center, go for a random walk through the orange points. What are the orange points? The orange points are the images that the AI artist, the machine that generates art, has produced. So we wanted to go for a walk through the images, guide the content that the AI artist has, or the generator has produced, so that they collectively deviate from existing artworks, right? So basically, the random walk is basically trying to basically stitch together how this generated artwork can collectively be novel and to be diverse, because you can make them different from existing artwork, but all of them can be in one region. We are designing this signal in a way that looks more like a community, like that you're building as you learn. Teach this network to build this community that are different from what you have seen. Okay, these are just more like technical content, but these are some examples that compares the early results from the newer results, and you can see that they are. There is some advancement in the nature of images. It is less abstract. It has more it has more message that it can communicate. And these are some examples. I'm not sure how many. I will conclude. Okay. So these are some examples that shows that the top liked the art, and also shows that the ratings of this method has more art that is rated with 4 and 5, much more liked than that, much more extremely liked art was rating 4 and 5 than disliked or extremely disliked art compared to existing methods. And yeah, these are some of the pieces that you can see here that was exhibited in AI Art Online that actually Luba was organizing. And this it was fun. It was nice that it was this artwork was actually selected as a representation of AI artwork at the year of 2021 at NeurIPS, which is one of the major international conferences in machine learning. Yeah, so you can see one of these figures also shows that these creations also can create emotional experiences for people. So these are the distribution of how people feel towards AI-generated content. From this method, for example. And it covers things like excitement, fear, and people talk about when fear is scarred, dark, ghosty, and when they say excitement, anger. So you can see that and only, I don't know, 13% people don't relate to it and don't feel anything. But you can see that more than 85% people have some real feelings towards AI-generated artwork. These are some examples about ghosty images on the left, and maybe more funny images on the right about maybe zombie grandma and so on. And I think that this is just some recent development, and this technology can be, these are some recent technology that was used to generate artwork from using technology called diffusion models that starts from a noisy image and a little bit denoise it from left to right to generate a much more beautiful images. And this is one of the very successful techniques right now compared to GAN models that I have been describing earlier. You can take a look at that from this blog post by JLMR. So this is a new technique. What I'm trying to say is that you can, this is just another, like one more level to generate videos, and a better method that can have control on how do spatiotemporal locations in images on videos of faces can be modeled with video models. And how this can be modeled, how GAN models that were used to generate like a content that is not as good as diffusion is now getting back to rival diffusion models. So this is a paper that is appearing in a couple of months with GANs, which generates images in one shot instead of having denoising steps, which is quite slow. So this shows that the GAN technology that we have been talking about in the beginning are still in the game of generating high quality content. And with that, I would conclude. Thank you. And then I would hand over the mic to Luca for the next talk. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Oh yeah, and the clicker as well. I'll need that for all the slides. Right, so yes, in my talk I'll give you an overview of kind of the main kind of art projects that I see important, kind of from my perspective as a curator. And yeah, so I begin with this work from Google called Deep Dream, which is an algorithm that came out back in 2015. And again, I had a video that won't play, but let's say you have a normal image of an artist like here, and then this algorithm kind of looks at the image and it gets excited by certain points. So you have all these crazy creatures and colors coming out, like kind of in this aesthetic. And that was quite popular back in 2015, and it drew a lot of kind of artists who are now quite important in the AI art space. It drew them into the field, and kind of they began working with those tools. And one of the artists I find interesting working in this field is Daniel Ambrosi. He's probably the only AI artist who still works with Deep Dream, because, I mean, the technology is probably like 8 years old now. And what I like about his work is that he uses Deep Dream, but the work isn't just about the Deep Dream. So there you can see that there's like a lake with some houses and some trees, so you can still see the subject matter. And yeah, Deep Dream kind of brings the colors and the swirls, so it sort of kind of enhances the style of the image. And then came something called style transfer, where you kind of got an image and you could change it into the style of Monet or Picasso or one of these artists. And this was extremely popular in the technical community. So whenever I went to all of these AI conferences, everybody associated style transfer with AI art. But whenever I talked to somebody from the more artistic community, they were kind of horrified that this was considered art, because in many ways it was like replicating the style of artists from the past as opposed to trying to do something new, because the artists of today, they don't want to be exactly, they don't want the exact aesthetic of Van Gogh. They probably want their own style that in time will be kind of regarded as well as Van Gogh. So that was a very interesting difference in perspective. And yeah, there are some artists who've been kind of working with it. And I think one of the main interesting applications is to broaden the definition of style to something like Google Maps or calligraphy or astronomy and so on. And then came something called the GAN, the Generative Adversarial Network, which Mohamed was explaining a little bit in his presentation, and that was kind of the main technology being used to generate images, I guess, from 2014 to around the time of text-to-image generators. And it began quite, I suppose, blurry, and this is one of the earlier GAN works from, I think, 2016 by Mario Klingemann. And you can kind of see that in those images, the facial features are not always quite in the right place, and sometimes the colors are too bright. So there are certain kind of areas where, the technology wasn't maybe performing as it should have been, but in many ways, that's what made those early GAN works interesting. And so lots of artists were working with GANs to generate images, but some were also looked at other mediums like sculpture. So this artist called Ben Snell, he used a GAN to generate lots of different designs of sculpture from antiquity to modernity. Then he proceeded to smash the computer that made all the designs, and out of the dust he made the sculpture. And I think that's quite a conceptually elegant piece, because of course if you look at kind of more modern art history, you'll find artists in the 20th century who were also destroying kind of their works. And I like this piece because it's quite developed conceptually. And what do I have next? So there are also artists who focus a lot on the data set, who maybe make their own drawings or photographs or engravings, and they use that maybe as a data set to then kind of generate images in the style of their work. So Helena Sarin is one of these artists, and what is special about her work is that she combines different mediums in one piece. So for example, in the image on the right, I think she combines newspaper, photography, and maybe pastel drawings, kind of all in one image. And then, she trains various GANs on them to kind of generate this particular aesthetic, which is very distinct from most other AI art you will see. And then Anna Ridler is one of the pioneers of AI art, also in highlighting the human element. So this is a project I commissioned for the Impact Festival in the Netherlands, and Anna Ridler came over to the Netherlands for a month. She bought lots of tulips, took 10,000 photographs, labeled and categorized them, and then trained a GAN on them to generate kind of images like that. Often it was a video that would be moving. And what is really interesting about her work is that whenever she exhibits the Tulips project, she has the video, and alongside it, there would be a wall with like 1,000 of these photographs to kind of highlight and make clear to the audience that there is a lot of kind of human input in these models, because, of course, these models need data to train on, and the data normally comes from humans. So and I think did a really great job at highlighting that. And then for the NFT age, she also had this project called bloem unveiling, which you could buy as an NFT, and it would only bloom for like a week, and then the NFT would self-destroy. Because of course, if you have a real flower, it's not going to bloom forever. So it's nice to bring these kind of touches of nature's fragility into the technical realm. And yeah, then I think I have maybe a couple of projects from more contemporary times with text-to-image generators like Stable Diffusion and DALL-E that you're probably all familiar with, where you write a prompt and get an image. And yeah, Botto is one of the, I think, earlier projects with these technologies made by Mario Klingemann, where he was generating various images using Clip, and then he had a community of, supporters who would pick which one of the images should be sold as an NFT. And I remember being very impressed that I think in a matter of probably 8 weeks, he fetched like $1 million for these works. And now you probably look at them and they're quite maybe commonplace to a lot of other art made with these text-to-image tools. Maneki Neko has an interesting work in that I think she makes something that's quite visually complex and intricate, which again is probably different to what you might see as typical kind of text-to-image works. And Varvara and Mar, they have been using those tools to generate a design and then to 3D print a ceramic sculpture, so kind of adding a physical element to kind of distinguish themselves in this space. And yeah, this is actually probably an example of something that I would say is very typical text-to-image art. And this actually won the first prize at the Colorado State Fair. And I remember there being kind of some controversy as to how much it was highlighted that AI was involved. How am I doing for time? Should I be fine? Okay. And yeah, this is a work I really like by two Korean artists called Shin Sung-bak, Kim Young-hung. And what is really cool about their work is that they're using facial recognition. So it's not a technology that's really been designed for art at all, but they're using it in a very kind of new artistic context. So they asked portrait painters to paint portraits together with a facial recognition camera. And it was important that the camera could not detect a face in the finished portrait. So if you look at these images, they are not recognized as a face by the facial recognition system. And probably as a human, you could imagine that these are portraits. Though whenever I look at the image on the left, it's taken me a long time to figure out actually where is the face or where is the portrait there. But if you tilt your head like 90 degrees, like you will realize that there is like a face that's a little bit kind of tiled and repeated. So again, it's interesting how this technology kind of makes artists try and be kind of more creative and work with the limitations to make something new and different. And likewise, Maciej Mariański, he was working with a curve generator to kind of make faces. And yeah, certainly in the West, this is a very kind of uncommon depiction or vision of a face. And yeah, I think it's very interesting. Tom White has been working with image recognition. So the image on the left is supposed to be a starfish. If you showed this image to a lot of the image recognition systems, they would like recognize it as a starfish. But I think if I showed it to you as an audience, I mean, I certainly don't see a starfish there. I think if I wanted to show something for humans, I would, you know, draw lots of like different legs sticking out of the starfish. So these works kind of highlight the differences in the machine and the human kind of perception and understanding of objects. And I think this is probably my last slide. Nuf Al-Jawazia is an artist working in New York with, I think, Saudi heritage. And she was kind of looking at data sets of photographs from, I think it was the 19th century. And she wanted to find works that kind of really represented the local culture as kind of seen by the Saudi people as opposed to the British or any kind of colonial powers. And she found that there were a lot of gaps, and she wanted to remove kind of any stereotypes or any foreign influences. So in the works she made, you can see that there are a lot of kind of white spaces that highlight the areas that were kind of underrepresented in the local data sets she found. And I think that's it. And now over to James.
Thank you, Luba. Hello, everyone. My name is James. How much time I have? Should be fine. All right, so I try my best to keep everyone still awake. So I think, first of all, Christoph gave a really good reasoning why we're doing all this. I think we are in a really interesting timing on Earth right now. Well, so far we're still living on Earth at this stage, but you never know, with AI and more technology coming, maybe next time we're going to have exhibit in Mars. So at this moment, we really want to see how technology is actually causing with art. And Mohamed gave really good idea about the latest technology, starting from especially gain that actually make a big boost to a lot of communities, especially artists, start to make use of AI technology for arts, for creativities, which I think most of the scientists at the beginning, we didn't even think about it, which is actually quite common in technology field, like people invent laser. They don't even know what's that for at the beginning, but later on they find a lot of application for medical purpose. And also, I think Luba gave a really good summary how once some scientists invent something, they have no idea what will happen, hopefully most of the time for good. And a lot of people actually create a really creative artwork, or even maybe in the future, more creative possibility. So far I wish to spend my coming 10 minutes with all of you to talk about the AI technology, not just for arts alone, but also for the creativity that is cultural, relevant to the regions. And that's actually what I'm trying to share with you, my AI Arab arts journey. So I currently as a professor in Hamad bin Khalifa University in Qatar. I came over to this region as a visiting professor in Qatar a month before pandemic. I was just thinking to spend one semester, 3 months in the region, but apparently I already spent almost 3 years here. So my research is actually focusing on how technology can be usable for arts, culture, media, and heritage. On the other way around, how this area will need us to bring more advanced technology. And I myself also an media artist. I focus on making use of digital technology for different kind of arts. So since I get stuck in Qatar and people start to see me doing some arts because I get stuck in the hotel, apparently I don't have any water painting or any aim to do any art, so I have a computer accessing to the supercomputer with all the AI algorithm in the university server. So I start to generate some artwork that is relevant to the region, and then they see some of my works, and then they directed me to be the artist in residence in Qatar, one of the museum in Qatar Museum called Fire Station Museum, because this is something that they see is really timely and contemporary. So I have been staying in the hotel and the studio But this studio is not that, don't have any fancy imagination. It's really simple, like a space, which is most of the time the artists need to be in this kind of environment to explore the possibility. But every artist friends coming to my space, they said, James, your space is really, really primitive. You just have a computer. Because we are doing AI arts, we just need a computer, that's it. So after the lift up of the first lockdown, I pretty much spent it like first 4 months in the hotel, outside the hotel, close to the souk. It's called Souk Raki. They have a hot staple. So every day, my routine is finishing my online teaching, and then I go for a run, feeding cats along the street, and then taking a lot of pictures at the hot staples. So many of you actually may notice one thing. I'm not sure whether you noticed that throughout the presentation by Mohamed and Luber, and also seeing the artwork generated by AI. Many of my students or my artist friends, they ask me, James, the AI technology seems pretty cool, but seems like generating something really abstract. I don't even know what you're generating. And the resolution is really, really low. So you can say whatever you can claim, but we really don't know what kind of art you're doing. So I start to think, okay, as a scientist hat, right, I need to really overcome this saying. So during these few months, I am actually modifying the GAIN technology, the generative adversarial technology, trying to achieve one possibility. How can I make a high resolution of AI art, at the same time can generate some artwork relevant to the region, to the heritage, but that can give a really fine details of some sort of the figurative artwork, such as horse painting. As you may notice that actually in this region, one of the heritage is Arabic horse falconry, right? And a lot of their presentation of their artwork, they give a really nice oil painting and different kind of way to present their artwork in a really fine detail, because that's the way for them to show the beauty, to show the uniqueness of a certain horses, right? So this is actually my motivation. I'm trying to break through from the technology in order to make the art representation possible, to prove to the world the AI arts technology are able to create a really fine arts level of the artwork. So over like 4 months of effort from the technology, we start to able to train a model that can generate a high resolution, nice quality of horse painting. And after that, you just need to keep generating. We were able to produce different kind of style of the horse painting, even from a regular horse to Arabic horses. And one key thing, what we really want to show the technology is possible to generate a horse painting that everyone in this region can say that this is an Arabic horse. If some of you can know the horse well in this region, most of the Arabic horses have a really cheek, long nose, very lean body with a long, lean legs, right? So within that, we are trying to make the AI able to achieve a fine quality, but able to give a clear shape of the figures. So this is actually one of the major motivation of the first exhibition in AI art exhibition in. And I hope that there will be a chance for me to bring over this collection to be exhibited here. And then after 1 year, I tried to overcome another limitation of AI art. Because during the exhibition, everyone, they get convinced, wow, we start to see the AI artwork can give a really nice quality. Whatever the style you see, the AI art can generate, right? But they keep on saying that, James, all this art style is pretty much whatever you have seen from the history. There's no new art style, actually from the AI technology. And I think Luba just give some example. One of the technology called style transfer is pretty much migrating from some art style from existing artwork to a given content. So I start to think, how can I this time to change everyone's mind again? So I start to modify the style transfer algorithm, which I think have a similar motivation like what Mohamed just mentioned. One of his research project is how we can actually learn the existing art style that have been seen by the audience or in the existing data set, and to make the AI technology can deviate from some style that never seen. So we have the same purpose. We make the style transfer actually can learn all the existing pop art style that is starting from the data set with the painting from the timing of Andy Warhol to Keith Haring's. So we basically feed all these pop art styles during this period of time. And then the technology will basically identify a spectrum of all these pop art style that in a digital form factor, that from the human perspective, whenever we see this color arrangement, we will recognize it as a pop art. And with this spectrum, you can see there's some gap. Actually, there's no ones actually have been using it for any artwork before. And I just manually pick 3 of them, and then I try out on some falconry photo. And eventually, I just pick one, which is what you see right now. So I create a collection of falconry painting, actually have about, in total, 26 of them, actually telling the story about the falconry. So again, my purpose of doing this collection of AI artwork is not just pushing the boundary of the technology, but also trying to convey a message like all the artwork we have seen in this region is trying to recall some of our heritage, but we always use those styles we have seen. What about this time we use a new technology and with a new art style that discovered by the AI technology, try to reborn the presentation of some heritage or cultural content. So this is a series of the AI artwork using a modified style transfer, finding its own new style, and then the machine will able to have the capability. You just give me a falconry photo, and all this falconry photo I taken it from the desert and going with my student or my friends in the desert to play with the falconry. So I then pass to the machine in order to generate this series of falconry. And during this exhibition, I discovered something very interesting. So far, the AI technology, what I have been doing is trying to work on the cultural content or heritage content, which is really the figurative one, the figurative objects, right? Which is the Arabic horse and the falconries. But when we talk about the culture or the heritage content in this region, there's one thing which is actually we see it every day, which is the Islamic pattern on the architecture or a lot of even fashion, right? So it is actually perfect timing. We have a new technology called text-to-image generative model, which I think both Mohamed and Luba already demonstrate some example. The advancement of the technology that allow not just scientists, anyone right now, you don't need to collect so many pictures or taking so many pictures like me in the desert or in the horse stables. You can just put in the text. And during this period of time, I suddenly see a lot of individuals on social media creating a digital renaissance. It's like everyone now is like becoming an artist, right? But I realized one phenomenon. Most of this AI artwork generated by the text-to-image generative model, none of them actually can reflect the content in this region. So again, I start to notice that seems like all this model is a bit of culturally irrelevant or ignorance about the content here. So I start to type, okay, generate a Islamic pattern. And it keep on giving me some, the best one is a geometric pattern, but it's not Islamic pattern. So again, I need to go back to my scientific side, try to find way to feed a lot of data to train the machine. Okay, what is exactly is the Islamic pattern like? And then also, of course, we need to change some of the architecture of the model in order to generate some Islamic pattern. And it was just about the timing. Last year, we have the World Cup in Qatar. And you know that like Qatar is a really small area of a country. So with such a big population coming into the stadium, not everyone get a ticket, but they arrange a lot of fan zone and also off-site location to host the live broadcast of the match. And it's just funny enough, I have a chance, and this is actually so far in my lifetime my biggest art installation, which is actually is like almost like 13 to 15 floor height, and with this dimension, because you need to have a big TV screen for the matches. So usually they will show the national flag for those two teams. So right before a month ago, my team and myself successfully retrained a model. Instead of using the text to type, you just need to input the image of the national flag of those 32 qualified teams. And this model will actually learn the color and key features of the national flag of those 32 teams, and then we'll start to generate the pattern that is similar, close to, or we call Islamic-inspired pattern. So the whole idea is we really want to make use of the AI technology to create some artistic design, which is actually the Islamic pattern, try to embrace everyone with this event for the World Cup at the same time, the culture here. And this is one of the evening. I'm not sure whether you can tell which team to which team. Can someone tell this? Actually, it's one of my most favorite team. Unfortunately, didn't get the champion. Not Brazil. So the one on the right-hand side is Croatia. And if some of you follow the game, so the one on the left-hand side is Argentina. I was really heartbreaking. But anyway, so they get the still the semifinal, and yeah. So far this is the journey. Time flies. I have been in this region almost 3 years after this coming July. No, sorry, after this coming October. So within this summer, I have an ambition, which I have been working right now. And indeed, another really the heritage content and culture here is the Arabic calligraphy. And in fact, this topic is always in my mind because this is one of the topic which is actually I really like when I came to this region. I even spent 3 weeks after the first, I won't say after the first pandemic, we have a really long pandemic, right? After the first lockdown, and then I got a chance to travel, I chose to go to Istanbul to have 3 weeks learning Arabic calligraphy. So I share with some of my colleagues here, for the first week, every day I just learned how to shape my tools, because you need to have that tools really personalized to yourself so that you can repeatedly make it like the way you want to do the calligraphy. So it's really important. So the reason I want to do this is because I want to understand the mechanics in order for me to work on this. And so far, I only have the, I would say, a early success for very limited letters, right? It's not public yet, it's not exhibit yet, but I just want to show all of you. You guys might be the limited number of people on Earth right now seeing this work. So this is actually what we are modifying a text-to-image generative model. So you put in, for example, one letter of the Arabic words, Arabic letter. As you know, it is really challenging for us because the combination is just too huge. Because for our Arabic letter, when you put at the beginning of the word, the middle of the word, and the end of the word, it looks different. And then not to say that you have more than one letter put together, and then you make a calligraphy artwork with different orientation. The combination is too huge. The major challenge of this problem is, if you can recall what I just mentioned to you all, if we want to train a machine, we need to have a lot of image, a lot of data set. But it is really difficult to collect a lot of images of calligraphy so that to train the machine to do something new, right? So this is, we are working on it right now. So so far, we are only able to manage to handle 3 different letters together, right? If you have more than this, it doesn't look nice and it's not consistent. So far, this is the first few examples that we are able to generate something artistic with very simple Arabic letters as a calligraphy artwork. So I hope that next time when I see you all, we will have more pieces to be presented, and hope to see you all again here in Saudi or in Jeddah. So I think that's pretty much I want to share, and I think I should leave this slide to end our sharing with Christoph. Thank you so much. I hope to see you all again.
So, yeah, it's your turn.
Thank you so much. These were very thorough and interesting presentations. We learned about technology and AI from 4 different perspectives. Curators, from a curator, from 2 artists working in very different ways, and scientists, and from a filmmaker and artist. Perhaps we're gonna have some time for questions now. So I invite you guys to join us on the platform. And yes. So the floor is open if you have questions. Yes.
Thank you for the presentations. Yeah, so I have a question. I don't really know that much about AI, but from your presentations, it seems that AI is being used a lot as a tool and as a technique. But I'm wondering where the creativity actually comes into it. I know there's auto GPTs coming up, and there is definitely a difference between just creating data, looking at a data set, comparing it, and then churning something out that looks like it, versus actually thinking and creating and philosophizing and researching and all of that. And is that something that we're seeing AI able to do now, or is that something that will happen in the future?
No, I think this is fine now. Yeah. So I think that is like a question for all of us, and the question of creativity is very interesting. So I would think there's a question of creating creativity, and as far as I understood, it's a question from the perspective of an engineer, how you can somehow design the surprisingly new, and how can you bring that into the process of generating something? I think creativity is also something that we know from psychology, excuse me, And you can find some kind of definitions of creativity. There are like different steps of creativity. And if you look at these steps, I'm not sure if there's someone familiar really with these psychological models. And surprisingly or not surprisingly, some kind of steps, creativity somehow comes from combining something and figuring out what is a new combination of something, right? And you can imagine that certain steps, so like there's a basic line for that, and I remember like 4, you would already say that models are like AI models, neural network models and so on, are able to generate a certain kind of creativity in like solving problems, in presenting something that is new in a certain way, yes? So it's very hard you need to figure out from which perspective you want to look into it, and then we also always find this difficult definition of intelligence as well. I mean, what is intelligence? So it's something that also a whole lot of researchers in the human research in the human sciences are thinking about. And while we are trying to figure out the answer to your question, it's like one of the most important things how we approach these kind of things, and getting us into the discussion is always something that helps us, you know, building up our own consciousness about it. And AI can do this already, so you get into that kind of questioning while working with AI or while experiencing AI. And I thought I could redirect that question to the others on the stage, and I will try to do it, because creating creativity, I think, is an interesting question here. Yeah. If someone of you wants to join, Mohamed or James.
Okay, I try to give some example of my. Yeah, it works. Maybe I try to answer your question, or maybe add on the answer by giving 2 examples of my experience. For example, the Arabic horse painting we are using now, when we look back, is a really old technology, game technology. This technology simply just learn from all the picture that I took and feed inside, learn the feature about Arabic horses. So what's the creativity eventually? Because when scientists design game technology, we are trying to ask the machine to reproduce exactly the same Arabic horses. That's the reason why we have the deepfake issue, because you can really generate a photo of a person that doesn't exist. So then where is the creativity? Well, actually, when I went through this process of making the Arabic horses, actually, there's something that honestly is to my surprise as an artist. Yes, I'm asking the machine to produce Arabic horse, but when I ask the machine to produce even some existing art style for a particular Arabic horse, I would never know how it looks like until it's finished. Sometimes the composition, sometimes the choice of the color. Honestly, to me, even me as an artist, I used to do the water painting or oil painting. I would never think about it. I think because the machine is really trying the random combination with whatever that we trained it, and then it just pick a random moment to start to choose a style, to try to create a certain angle of the Arabic horses, and then create the artwork. And it is even human, me right now still human in the loop. I choose the topic of Arabic horses, but I will only know until it's finished. So if I would make a much lighter definition of creativity, for me, this is already, to my surprise, the machine helping me to create something new. And if it is a new combination, new possibility of a horse painting, with existing style, then I personally think it's already a creative work, might be just the level of it. Now, that will connect to my second example, which I try to explain and show the falconry artwork that I show. What if now the machine can learn to identify some art style that is never been presented? And together with the combination that I just mentioned, then that means we can create some artwork presentation that is no one have been tried it with a new style, with certain way of painting a falcon. So for me, I think this is a little bit of the upgrade of the creativity with the use of the machine. What if someday, with the use of ChatGPT right now, we can program the AI machine every day, please come up a poem. I don't know what's the poem like, but this poem may have some certain subject matter. So that means I don't even control what is the subject matter to be created in this painting. And then with what I just explained to you all, now we will have some new art style that we may even not know ahead. And the machine will start to create a painting with a subject matter we don't know, with an art style we don't know. It's completely autonomous. So in this case, for me, I think it starts to push, if we use it as tools, or we let the machine itself as an artist, I start to see the creativity start to happen with this arrangement. And of course, it's still within the canvas, but what if now we are no longer printed on a 2D, we create some sort of light projections. So what could be possibly created? I don't know. But so far, humans still in the loop. We choose the equipment, we choose what algorithm. What if we have a technology in the future with AI that's choosing different combination of the setup? Then maybe we will see some art form that may not even be presented before, with the content we didn't even know before, and with a style that we don't even seen before. Then I think that may start to open a new way to make us to be more creative. I hope I answer your question by sharing this experience.
Maybe I can jump in for this question. So I actually just thought about a biological view of creativity. So for example, we know that in our planet has more than 8.7 million species of living species, right? But how many do we know? So the catalog number of species that we know are actually only 1 million. So more than 85% of the creatures that exist in our planet are, for us, novel. We don't know them yet. We have not discovered them, right? So it feels to me that creativity is, those are actually novel species to us that are created by the creator, right? But we don't know what characterizes a new species. Biologists have over the hundreds of years are trying to learn and build taxonomies that classify the species that have been discovered so far, not yet that we have not discovered, right? And they look into the nature and then look at maybe possible, every year hundreds of species are being discovered, right? And then some of those can be categorized to something we have seen already. Some of the others could be different enough from what we have known, and scientists declare, hey, this is a new species of fish, or this is a new species of horse, this is a new species of a cat, this is a new species of a dog, right? So it feels to me that creativity in art is more like an emergence of also seen species, which are the art styles that have been discovered so far. And these are species of visual content that expresses something, right? So as there are expressions of something that have been developed and emerged and evolved over the years, but we still, some new work, we can still classify them to those existing species of expressions, right? Those could be, for example, I want to generate a piece of art that in the style of Van Gogh that talks about Corona monsters. Van Gogh probably didn't know about Corona monster because he was not there yet, but we can generate a content that may express that in his style as if this is a type of creation, but it's end domain within existing species, right, of expression. So other categories, may we discover them, and who discover them are maybe experts in art and science and heritage and psychology. Hey, this is, seems that there are some mode of creation. This mode of creation could be enabled by something that could be happening right now. The use of text-to-image technology, text-to-video technology. Something new might emerge. If that, whatever that emerges is different enough that we think, or collectively think that this is a new species of expression, then congratulations, we have a new or novel art category. So I think I would classify creativity is in from two angles. There are in distribution creativity, generating new content in the style of let's say high renaissance of something that exists already, or collectively maybe there may be a new art movement that the community think that is different enough to have its own name. And this is probably what happened when photography was invented, right? To imagine ourselves during the time where this camera that is capturing me right now wasn't there yet, right? And then the moment that the photography was invented, most artists at that time were just depicting the reality because there was a need to capture the moments, and there's no other way but to draw it, right? But people started to capture now the moments with cameras, and artists started to go beyond that mode of expression and create new art movements like Cubism and other things. So yeah, this is what I wanted to share.
Thanks very much, Mohamed. I want to give a chance to other people. Do you have a question?
Yeah. Hello. Yes, I have a comment about the mini GPT-4. Will it be able, like, for example, I'm just imagining, will it be able to explain art or an artistic piece to a visually impaired person, for example? Will it be able to? Because I was testing it now, and it is.
Maybe you can share what I would say that it has good, like it could maybe if it's trained with the right data it could have the potential, but I would say it would still have some gaps, right? Because depending on the data that was trained on, but for example, some people told me, we haven't tried that one, but some people gave it a picture of an X-ray of a leg with a broken ankle, and it was able to say that, but it doesn't mean that it will do that all the time. So it could be lucky that this example would work. Some other time, I think if there is enough effort that with access to experts, like art experts, who judge the process and come up with conclusion that, hey, we think that this is 80% good enough or 90% good enough, I think we will have a mature way to answer this question, but now I would say we can say that it could be, we can call it promising, but not yet well understood.
Thank you. And I have another question regarding the calligraphy model. You fed in all your calligraphy trials into the model, and you were able to get out of it some actual calligraphy, or the artistic aspect, as you have shown for us?
This is a really good question. I was starting the whole process from the technology side and the arts creation side. I was starting with the traditional calligraphy artwork. And I find that it doesn't work well because that actually aligned to the philosophy of the traditional Arabic calligraphy artwork, because you basically need to be exactly the same way as your master. Versus actually, when I ask the machine to do this, unless I put exactly the same words and tell the machine to position the writing in certain form, then I can get a good work. Then I start to realize this is a long battle for me. And also I feel that if I can make the success to show 1 or 2 examples, and it may not make a stimulating impact to the communities, then I suddenly realized I should change to try the new contemporary style of calligraphy artwork, for example, like Hassan Masoudi's calligraphy artwork. He used to do a lot of classic traditional calligraphy, but he evolved to different modern style, even just using 1 letters. For example, Elhoseiny style, like he claimed himself as not calligrapher, he claimed himself as artist, but it is really a new form and a contemporary style of doing calligraphy. And the good thing is, it's really easy for me to take the image to train, then easier than training the machine to do the classical or traditional calligraphy artwork. Because at the end, with all these images, it has a really big freedom because their work itself is really like have not too much constraint by certain combination of the letters. Exactly. So that's why so far at this stage, I'm attempting to deal with the contemporary Arabic calligraphy artwork, and at the same time, I want to prove one thing, because this is a contemporary style, and people are pushing this, and I'm using AI to push this, and it will make a more stimulating angle for people to appreciate. And also, I start to realize one thing, even though I'm not from this region, but I found that a lot of people now we get used to our smartphone and tablets, then seems like we are losing the interaction much with practicing the writing and calligraphy artwork. What if we have a new way to make it more contemporary, to make it closer with today's style? Would be interesting. That is something I'm trying to experiment and see the response as well. So that's why I choose the contemporary style. Yeah, I hope I answer your questions. Yeah.
Hello. Why is it that, at least from what I see, most of the artwork generated is 2-dimensional in nature? And even when you go to Midjourney and write prompts to generate images, objects that are 3-dimensional in nature or have a spatial nature like a building, the result is still 2-dimensional. It's not something that you can turn or go through or experience the space within. So why is it just a limitation of current technology, or it's the nature of how the AI is being trained and what it's generating?
We did have one sculpture, I remember. Luba, you mentioned it.
Well, I mean, yeah, sure, I can answer that question. I thought Mohamed was going to. But, I mean, it's just, in the works I show are those that I find most interesting, and I really like the visual kind of realm. But ultimately, AI is just a tool like any other that you can use to make any type of artwork. So there are also some interactive works that are projections that might, but also be like 3D printed sculptures that could have a sound element. So there are kind of lots of different technologies that can be used. And I don't know, I think somebody from your group, Mohamed, is working on something that's a bit more like 3D based. You can probably expand on that.
So I think one of the reasons why platforms like Midjourney doesn't have yet ability to generate 3D models that there is abundance of images in the internet, billions of images. It's easy to find them. But there's no resource. There's no similar resource of finding data that can enable us to train a model that will enable this 3D awareness in the generation. So one of the steps that we have made recently, last 6 months ago at KAUST, my team have introduced one of the largest data sets. It has about more than 10 million 3D models of chairs, tables, and things like that. And the more we have access to data that have different geometry, that is rich in geometry, in 3D geometry, right? Because this is the information that what we want the model to introduce. In what way you want to introduce a novelty in a new chair, right? It needs to understand actually the 3D geometry, how each arm looks like, how each leg looks like, how each seat looks like, and things like that. And you cannot really understand well that from just giving machines images, right? You need to give them geometry, right? And we lack access to data like this because it's much harder to collect. It's much easier to collect pictures, but it's far much harder to collect the actual 3D structure of objects, right? And maybe with further with growth of data sets in this shape, was both richer geometry and richer appearance in what types of materials that you can assign to parts of chairs, sofas, like you can assign to this metal, wood, you can assign to the seat, rubber or leather, you can assign to the back, whatever, and so on. So I think it's a limitation of the data itself. And the other thing that is also challenging is actually training those models requires huge amount of compute, and it's only accessible to big tech companies or a few organizations that have access to thousands of GPUs. And may both the data and the compute be available so that we have good enough base, all the requirements to train this model. I think we will start to see. I do believe that this is the future, and my team actually is focusing on this, because the future for metaverse, for example, you want models that accelerate content creation to populate virtual reality, metaverse, to create experiences for people to create new places, venues that could be richer, as rich as the world that we live in, and maybe more.
So as an architect, I can sleep well tonight, not worrying I'll be out of a job anytime soon.
Yeah, you should. And the point is that may this technology actually get developed, it can repurpose it to actually introduce a new movement in architecture, maybe. So it might give you access to some assistive tools that can be helpful to do it better in some way. I currently believe that those technologies exist to assist us to help whatever we are trying to build, like assistive tools. And I think we should put regulations to make that the sole purpose of any AI technology, to assist our society, to assist us to produce quality products in one way or the other.
Thank you.
To use the images of an object from different angles and create a 3D image out of that, and this could be a solution. And
have you done this, Mohamed, in the collection of the data sets? So did you I just heard about it also. So NERV technology, did you use NERV technology to generate 3D objects from 2D pictures?
That's one way I have seen to collect. There is another data set that has been introduced in CVPR this year that uses NERV technologies to create a data set. but and it has hundreds of thousands of shapes, just taking pictures from some objects or something like that. But the issue is that if you look at the data set, the geometry is really poor. Like it doesn't generate geometry that is in the resolution that we realize in the real world. So it's far from as rich than, let's say, the data set that my team has collected. So it can be used in some way, but I wouldn't think it will be the finest geometry, because when you create new things, you really care about the details, right? But those data can convey some can give you some rough data to have some understanding about how can you create the rough object, but how would you iterate this to make a quality product? I think they are probably not yet have been developed to be good enough to serve this purpose, but maybe in the future.
How fascinating. We have a couple of minutes. Do we have any more questions in the crowd? Yes?
So, because we are talking about 3D modeling right now, I had a question about, like, do we have an already existing program that can do these fine details? Like, from what I know, there is like program like ZBrush, where 3D artists, they sculpt details. And do we have program or AI technology that can reflect whatever heritage that we have exhibited in, like, the Biennale, the old craft in Islamic art? So this is my question. Do we have AI approaches or technology that can reproduce the big heritage that Islamic art and craft have in that much fine detail?
I can add something. I will answer your question like this way. I think let's put aside the 3D thing for now. I think Mohamed just explained the challenge. But it does actually in several countries, for example, like in UK and US, China, Italy especially. They have been using AI to restore the damage of carpets, some tiles, like those, I would say more like a pattern or 2D favorable images. There has been quite a bit of works, like AI scientists, data scientists, they work together with the conservation team in the museum to restore the patterns or the outlines of the buildings or some objects. The way they do is actually taking the picture of the objects or painting and then let the machine that after all the training of the images data set they have been collected and try to guess how it should be looks like. But eventually for something related to heritage is still the judgment call by the conservation team whether they take the recommendation of the restored look or image. So there has been actually a real practice right now. They're making use of AI technology to do that. Now come back to the 3D, because the way they do is just taking a top view and then they're taking a side view, right? It would be nice if the AI will actually restore a 3D perspective. I think Mohamed just mentioned about the issue about the data set, and also, of course, you need to have the infrastructure to retrain the whole model, and of course, we need to have that model that is able to not just giving you the look, but also the perception or the geometry parameters. But I personally also think there's also a limitation about the accessibility of the technology. I think only until these days, because of the Elon Musk, OpenAI, right? They really invest a lot, putting the money in. Okay, after training, we make it for free, right? And also the community is already mature enough for the last few years, focusing on 2D images. So now we start to see different creators, different individuals beyond the computer scientists, able to produce a lot of artwork that making use AI. And I think my feeling is like the 3D or even beyond 3D is coming, because we have a lot of early success, but it's still limited in the research lab or technology community. Only those people you have the access of data, but even access to data might be limited data. Only those scientists or the engineers, we have the algorithm, but we don't have the platform to make it accessible by the public communities. When that day happens, then I believe there will be a lot of artwork in 3D perspective, a lot of design, a lot of application, a lot of maybe heritage works will be possible with the use of AI. That's what I believe and see that the pattern is actually repeating. Yeah.
Thank you. We're technically out of time, but maybe we have time for one more question. Is that okay with you?
ما في سؤال محدد هو. السلام عليكم. يعني أنا بشكر يعني أسرة البينالي صراحة إنه عملت محاضرة للذكاء الاصطناعي، وخصوصا إنه يعني جاء في وقته. التمديد هذا صار يعني خير لنا نحن كمان، مو بس يعني للكل صراحة. كانت فرصة كبيرة يعني إن إحنا بنشوف زي هذا البينالي في بلدنا الحمد لله. طبعا سبق قبل كده البينالي في الدرعية اللي كان في الرياض، كان صراحة في أعمال كثيرة فيها ذكاء اصطناعي. هنا شاهدنا، أعتقد في الأعمال كانت ما هي موجودة، بس إنه فكرة وضع المحاضرة هذه صراحة أثرت البينالي بشكل كبير. وحتى يعني إن ما كانت في أعمال، بس إنه يعني حظينا بفرصة استماع للمحاضرات هذه، خصوصا إنه الآن التوجه كثير للذكاء الاصطناعي صراحة في الأعمال والفن. وإلى الآن في عندنا ترك كده شوية إنه كيف الفن والذكاء الاصطناعي بيدخلوا مع بعض. في كثير يعني ما بقول لك إنهم معارضين، بس إلى الآن ما هم بيوصلوا للفكرة الواضح للاجتماع بين الفن والذكاء الاصطناعي. بس هي كان مداخل إنه شكر للحضور للمحاورين في هذا اللقاء، وصراحة يعني أثرانا نحن كحضور. يعطيكم العافية. لا ما في سؤال، أنا بقول شكر يعني خاص إنه هم بالفعل يعني أنا ما توقعت إنه محاضرة حتكون عن الذكاء الاصطناعي في البينالي، فصراحة إنه وجودكم اليوم هنا صراحة بإثر البينالي وأثرانا نحن كمان بالفعل. يعني صراحة ما توقعت إنه حيكون في عن الذكاء يعني الفن والذكاء الاصطناعي، لأنه هو فن بناء للفن الإسلامي مخصوص، بس إنه كخطوة زي كده صراحة مرة حلوة. فيعطيكم العافية على الجهود اللي بتبذلوها لينا.
She was basically.
I think we really need AI to translate on the fly.
She was just saying that she's very happy that the Biennale was extended, that this panel was part of its program, because the exhibition itself may not include any works of AI or works generated by computers, but that this panel is very relevant for art production at the time. So she's very happy that this is taking place, and عشان نبقى يعني we have to thank KAUST, actually, our partners, for this program, because their role is to highlight how technology is being used in the kingdom, also to create art. So, shukran liki. Thank you very much.
Shukran.
Thank you so much, all of you. This was also thanks for pulling through for the 2 hours. You are champions. And don't forget to sign up for the SAAI workshop, which is happening at SAAI Jamil, also our partners. When exactly?
We are still working on exact schedules. So
Okay.
you have to stay tuned for the next.
But the deadline is extended. It's not 15th, it's the 1st of June.
This was extended.
So the deadline for application is June 1st? Okay, wonderful. For SAAI at SAAI Jamil, that's another hackathon, yes?
Well, SAAI Jamil would be another step on the whole series of events related to the second edition of SAAI. So we will collect works, we will invite participants throughout this. So please join as early as you can, but you will have several possibilities.
Just to clarify that the SAAI is more like a series of events. It's like, for example, what just happened at KAUST is so what just happened at KAUST is a 2.5-day symposium, like a small conference that kicks off this process, this series of events. So what was the purpose of this symposium? It was a set of talks by experts to help us learn more about this area, and also some of the technologies that has been used. There was also a tutorial that we actually released. Have a GitHub repository of easy to execute a step-by-step for those who wants to learn how to play with AI art creation. If you're just a newcomer, or you're just starting to learn about AI, don't be intimidated. It's easy to catch up. So we have made all these resources available online, and actually the recordings for all the talks are available online, as well as the walk through this GitHub repository, how do you run actually them step by step, are also available online. So you can access them through the resources. So maybe you can share it with the Biennale leadership to distribute for others. It's available on the SAAI website, yes.
Referring to this, SAAI Factory website holds a link to right now to the deadline that we have is on the how can we just express this? Very simple. First of all, as you mentioned, and I think it's it comes up as an important new approach. Please sign up with 3D ideas and concepts, you know? It seems to me like this is we have seen a lot of two-dimensional things. So join us in every way you would like. And all that you would need is, you need to find out SAAIFactory.com. There's a link to the DevPost site. And this is all linked together. And we will collect each and every one also on a Slack channel. So all this information can be found if you start looking through the SAAI Factory homepage. And if you get lost, please write an email to one of us and say, well, I don't know actually where is it now, the link, the final link to register. And Mohamed, I want to add, you don't have to, do everything on your own. We have 300 participants online that would love to share a team. So you can just sign in and try to build a team and say, well, skills, interests, whatever.
There's also Slack community that
we have
hundreds, close to, I don't know how many, but definitely over 600 to 1,000 people who have been in the journey since the SAAI started in 2001. But what I'm trying to say that the symposium is basically to just initiate that, hey, this event is happening, and to just announce that, hey, we have this hackathon that you can participate in, and provide you some tools that you can use to build your project to submit later in now June 1st, not May 15th. Okay, and then after that there is an event for announcing the winners and participants, and maybe that celebration, one of those celebrations, could happen in maybe in Hayy Jamil or something else. So the best resource to know what was going to happen next is to sign up on the DevPost website, and you will receive once you sign up, you'll receive announcement for what's going to happen next. Specifically for the hackathon, for the symposium, the small conference that kicks off this series of events, you will find, I'm not sure if this link is yet available on DevPost, but we will put it there. But if you just say SAAI KAUST or something, you will find the program details over there in the live streaming. But we'll attach these sources as well so that you can go from it while you are in the DevPost website. I hope.
No, you don't have to know coding yourself, but it's just we encourage you to look for someone who does know coding, or you can even, you can start with a good idea, and we try to help you out with finding someone that might fit, right? Yeah. So, Mohamed, you have access to students.
The 4 of us, right?
And James as well.
2 arts creator and 2 engineers, like computer scientists, right? And the main idea, this representation, like between artist and engineer, is what we wish to see in projects. So, for example, if projects have maybe some people who are interested in design architecture, and maybe you can pair up with someone else who is a computer science who knows more about coding. That's actually one of the things that we wish to encourage, but it's not necessary. What I'm trying to say, these tools has become increasingly accessible and easy, and the tutorial that we have been through just showing that you can just prompt it, like similar to Midjourney. Right now, in order to generate something that you want to desire, that you're desiring, you can control it with some text prompt or something, have some controllability as like coding, like natural language programming. So you're programming what you want by the natural language that we use all the day. Because right now ChatGPT can, for example, generate code, and code can generate images, right? So we can just jump from language to images or language to creation.